Hello and welcome to Mind Shifters Radio. I'm Tim Hayes. I'm your host for the first hour. And today is Thursday, October 23rd, 2025. As always, we're grateful to everyone who's joining us here today, whether you're listening live or through the archives, as we spend another couple of hours teaching and supporting people in using some of the most powerful, effective, efficient, and accessible tools I've ever encountered. These tools are available absolutely free through the tireless efforts of Dr. Michael and Jeannie Rice on the website at whyagain.org. If you go to that website and click on the two words that say Start Here in the upper left-hand corner, it will take you to a page where you can download and read Chapter 24 of Dr. Michael Rice's book. The book is titled, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And the chapter of the book That particular chapter of the book contains a narrative description and explanation of the primary tool in this work. That tool is called the Reality Management Worksheet, sometimes called the Reality Management Wake-Up Sheet. And it's a tool I've been using to great effect for over 21 years now to improve the quality of my life and most of my relationships, and to turn any negative emotional experience I have into part of the infallible guidance system that each and every one of us has been given. You can also download the actual worksheet process itself from that web page. It's a simple PDF file. Just click the link, download it, print it off, copy it as often as you'd like, and use it over and over again absolutely free. You can also download from that web page a whole host of audio files of shows just like this one, where people have been stepped through the worksheet process. And if you choose to listen to them, even repeatedly, they can serve as a powerful tutorial for you to help you get maximum benefit from these tools in the shortest amount of time possible. You can also go to your app store and type in the three words Heartland Aramaic Forgiveness. And if you choose to do that before you're done typing the word forgiveness, you'll see the glowing heart icon. If you tap on that, it will let you download a completely free and private app that contains the Reality Management Worksheet. It contains an abbreviated version of that worksheet process. It contains a copy of the Dragon Klingon game, which is a wonderful way to introduce these tools to even younger audiences. And we hope people do all of that soon and often, primarily because it tends to improve the quality of people's lives the more they actively apply these tools in their lives. But secondarily, because it tends to promote comments, questions, answers, and testimonials. If you have any of those to share with us, we'd appreciate you doing so. You can send me an email at tjh@mindshifters-academy.org, or you can email Jeannie at jeanie@whyagain.org. That's whyagain.org. And if we get a question or comment from you, we'll address it on the internet show, and then as time allows, send you a notification about what day and time that occurred, so you can listen back to the archives for your feedback or input. And the other option is that you can join us live if you're available from 11 to noon Central Time most weekdays. You can go to zoom.us and then join a meeting and put in the meeting ID 853-2357-4173. That's 853-2357-4173. And if you call in just on the phone, the button to mute and unmute is *6 will help you toggle between muted and unmuted. You'll be automatically muted when you join. And we encourage people to unmute and speak up and let us know what's on your mind. And because when you do that, whether through an email or a live call, you assist us. You make it far easier for us to live into our intention with this work. And the intention we have with this work is to be of service. And that is just so much easier to do when we know how these things are landing for you. If you will let us know what's most advantageous for you in what we present and talk about and read on the internet show, and or the support groups, if you're one of those who who happens to attend both. So this morning, over the past few days, as I've listened to the shows I've done and the shows Michael's done, I just really, really have this strong urge this morning to sit down and just do more worksheets than normal. And as I was doing that, I was having the glitch with the app where it will let me do a worksheet, but then when I go to send it to myself or save it, the app closes and everything is lost when the app closes. So part of the presentation I wanted to make this morning is that some of those worksheets, even if I wasn't able to capture them, they took me to places as I would cancel a goal for something in my life today. They took me to places either 6 or 7 years ago, or they took me to places when I was in high school. And one of the themes, for instance, one of the worksheets I did this morning was a worksheet on how many people cycle through the internet show and the support groups, and they come and go, and there's never any word about why they're coming or why they're staying or why they're leaving. And so one of the worksheets I did on that was about the emotion of sadness. And so I put sadness as the emotion, and I put myself as the target. And what's happening is I crave acceptance. I don't know where those words came from, but when I was doing the worksheet, that seemed to make sense. And then the thought I was using to create my emotion in that worksheet was that I had to clear my throat there. The thought I was using to create that sadness was, without acceptance of those I admire, I don't have value. And the punishment thought I had for myself was this fawning, this idea that I have to abandon myself or my principles in order to get acceptance. So I went through the worksheet and I chose a goal. And the goal was that I be conscious of my value and my true nature in every moment. And when I did the goal canceling and I did the forgiveness pattern and I sat with that for probably several minutes, I flashed on the idea of being aware of tension, stiffness in my neck. And aside from the thoughts and the emotions, I wasn't aware of any emotions or any other thoughts. I was simply aware of stiffness in my neck. So, all right, do some more worksheets on that. I did another worksheet where the idea was confusion about people coming and going on the support groups and on the internet show without any clarification for me about why they were staying, what they liked, what they didn't like, etc. The other worksheet I did on that was about sad as an emotion. And the idea here is, the thought I was using this time was, something's wrong, and if I don't know what it is, I can't fix it. In other words, people are leaving the support group or they're leaving the internet show because I'm doing something wrong or because I'm not doing enough of the right stuff. So the goal that I chose in that worksheet was that I wanted the participants in the support group or the internet show to be direct and explain why they choose to participate and why they choose to leave. And when I canceled that thought and that goal, and I did the forgiveness patter again for probably 2 or 3 minutes. Hand over my heart space, just breathing and gently repeating, I cancel my need to be right, and I cancel my need for anyone or anything to change, and I ask to be shown the hidden part of my own mind. I flashed on a significant pattern of memories from my high school years. And in my uh, later high school years, probably sophomore and junior, at least sophomore and junior, I was almost panicked about getting to school early. Now, I hated school, so it wasn't about I was so excited to get there and learn something. Deep, powerful memories of how intense my desire was to connect with certain friends. And I was very fortunate at the time that some of the people that let me hang around with them, and that's how I felt about it, rather than, this mutual friendship. I kind of felt like they just let me hang around. But they were some of the brightest, some of the people that were some of the nicest, pleasant, gentle, loving people, some of the highest grades, some of the most active in the community. So they would be editors of the school newspaper. They would be head of this club or that club. They'd be starting a political movement for recycling, those kinds of people. And what I flashed on when I canceled my goal for this worksheet was how I craved being connected to those people. And that's in response to canceling a goal where my goal is for the people who come into the support groups and the radio show to be open and direct with why they choose to participate and why they choose to leave. Now, if you're like me, your conscious logical mind is spinning, because what's the possible connection there? A psychologist in his own office, in the fully mature phase of his career, is generating an emotion of sadness, and his mind wants to tell him it's all about the people who come and go on the internet show and don't say why, or they come and go in the support groups and they don't say why. When what's really happening, when I ask to be shown the hidden part of my mind that's actually generating this sadness, is the same core dynamic I felt as a teenager when I didn't feel accepted and valued. And so one of my external signs or badges that I craved or wore about my value was, look, these people let me hang out with them. Because, if you go to school early, already most people aren't there. So it's a smaller number of people. And it has this sense of being elite when you're hanging out with these people that you look up to and they let you hang around. So the rest of my worksheets are going back to, okay, so what was it in my makeup, despite this loving family and wonderful parents that I had, what was it in my makeup that had me thinking and feeling so inadequate to the people that I admired and looked up to? And then there came another worksheet, and the next worksheet had to do with people calling the internet show and the way Michael interacts with them. And one of the revelations that came was, there's a parallel between the way I was able to or not able to connect with my own father and the way I'm able to or not able to connect with Michael Rice. Of course, as a person coming into this work, looking at Michael as the authority figure and the head of the community, etc., it makes sense that there'd be some overlap. So as I was exploring that, I again flashed on this memory of my father's best friend. We called him Uncle Max, but he wasn't a blood relation. And he was very bright, and he was very accomplished as a pilot and a psychologist and a scuba diver, and he could jump out of airplanes with a parachute. He could fly in and out of O'Hare in his private plane, which was unheard of. So again, here's this connection in my mind that says, oh, here are these people outside of me that have so much more going on. They're so much smarter, or they're so much better at this, that, or the other thing than I am. And I'm still in the process of doing worksheets to uncover what's the core pattern in me? Where did that begin? How did I download a belief that I'm less than other people? And it's just curious. I did a couple worksheets where the emotion was curiosity, and what I felt at the end was a calm curiosity, and it's a curiosity about how does this happen? How do I get so stuck at times? How do I have so many recurring negative thoughts? Even though I do worksheets, I cancel goals, I tap and breathe, and so I'm in the process of unraveling with this constant reminder that it's an inside job, and that, when it's all said and done, a couple hundred years from now, none of this is going to make any difference to anyone or anything. And that it's all about the inside job. And for me, the thing that provides the most reward is the efforts that I expend to return my awareness to my true nature as love, and my insistence that I stay vigilant for the early warning signs of negativity, whether it's a physical tension or a negative emotional state, because that's where the answers lie. There's gold in them there hills, I used to say. There's value in those emotions and what they communicate. And yet it's the opposite of the value that my culture tells me. Instead of it being valuable because it lets me know X, Y, or Z person outside of me is in error and needs to be corrected, and I should be the corrector. Instead of that, the value in my emotions is that it tells me when my internal process is either on the mark or off the mark. And, I'm here to tell you, after 21 years of actively applying these tools and trying to be as rigorous as I can, it's amazing to my mind how tenacious the old pattern is, how quickly my own thought patterns revert to blame and guilt and shame. And so I just want to, spend today and maybe several days, but I've done this before. I've started out in the beginning of a year and said, this year I'm dedicating this internet show, or my hour of it anyway, to actually doing worksheets, to actually, you know, cycling through several in an hour, if that's what people want to do, or, taking anybody who has an interest and helping them through the worksheet. And if they don't step up to do that, if no one steps up to do that, that I would start doing worksheets as a modeling, as a demo, as the growth experience that it can be for me and anybody who wants to, participate or watch from the sidelines. And the bottom line for me over and over again comes back to, like, the goal that I had in this one worksheet is to be able to be consciously aware of my value and my true nature in every moment. And if and when I achieve that, there won't be need for more worksheets. And until I achieve that, an infinite number of worksheets are going to be required to help me get where I want to go, or be what I want to be, or stay aware of my being and my true nature. So that's my offering for today. The idea that when I do the worksheets and cancel the goals, I can pop into awareness of things like a stiffness in my neck, or something that happened when I was in high school, or something that happened 6 or 7 years ago on an internet show, or it can go anywhere. And I would never consciously be able to draw those connections until after they become conscious. And then I can see, oh, the thing that gives this its relevance is what I made the situation mean, or the emotion that was up in me at that time, or both. So that's my offering for this morning. As always, we're inviting comments, questions, answers, and testimonials. Please feel free to unmute and speak up, even if we've moved past whatever the topic was when you were thinking about unmuting.
Hey, Dr. Tim.
Hello, Terry.
Good afternoon. I was talking with my partner about the power person dynamic, and we're going through the worksheets, and I started thinking about the three behaviors that we revert to when under stress. Catch my breath. And I thought, okay, let's just look at this and see what might be possible if I just look at those three behaviors. So assuming that I'm always under at least a minimal amount of stress, then I'm going to do what I did to get along. And so when I looked back at my relationship with my power person, which I believe at this point is my mother, well, also let me repeat something that I think I heard Dr. Rice say: the more I'm like you, the more you will like me, with regards to the power person. So I just wanted to check in with that if I heard that correctly.
Yeah, it sounds like something he would say. I mean, the understanding is that if even if my parents treat me with disdain and disgust as though they hate me, and I'm dependent upon them for survival, oddly enough, it's more protective of me and my sanity to side with my parents and think I'm truly disgusting. As bizarre as that might sound,
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
it is it's a dynamic that we observe many, many times. It may not be every time, but many times, a high percentage of times when there are children who are in an abusive environment, it seems it must be more adaptive because it happens so often. It must be more adaptive for them to align with the person that's hating them, hitting them, abusing them, ignoring them, etc., and adopt, no adaptation, just adopt their belief system, or what they project into the belief system of the adults or the abuser or whatever. So
Yeah.
I'm going to be like you in hating me. I'm going to hate myself. I mean, we had a powerful moment a lot of years ago now on the internet show where Michelle Pichet was on and doing some work, and we were talking about worksheets and mind shifters journaling that she could do. And all of a sudden she had the insight, and she said it out loud on the air. She said, "Oh my God, my mother was so abusive to me. I learned how to be abusive to myself by modeling my mother." And now, as she was a grown woman, Michelle was recognizing she's more harsh and abusive to herself than anybody else in her life. She learned how to be negative toward herself and abusive toward herself from her mother, and she learned the lesson well. She got straight A's.
Okay. Thank you for that. Several things came up as you were speaking, but I'll just go ahead with this first situation. So when I look back at my mom and what she was like and what I remember most about her, and actually this whole line of thinking came up because I was looking at a brother-in-law who is um, I think he would be considered a hoarder. And I was looking at myself, okay, bring it back home. Where in my life am I a hoarder? And I look at my bookshelves and I see that they're just covered with books, covered with papers, covered with articles, covered with research, covered with, all the paper, reading, taking classes, taking workshops. And I thought, okay, there it is. So when I think about my mom, I think about how she was always reading. And this was a favorite activity of hers. We went to the library every week. When we were old enough to get our own cards, and she was in book clubs, and um, she read to us every night. It was just a thing that she did. She sat between my sisters and my bed, and she would read us the classics, Tom Sawyer and Alice in Wonderland, and so I was thinking, okay, well, I do a lot of that. So that's one of my main behaviors that I spend a lot of time doing. And then I thought, okay, so to stay safe and survive, what did I do? Well, when she criticized me, I felt like I needed to get away, especially after I got wheels. So I would get in my car and just go drive and drive and drive, go somewhere, get away, run, escape, avoid, um, just get away. And then the third thing, what did I do that she hated the most? And I had a really hard time thinking about this. I thought,
All right,
there's
now it's not what she hated the most.
what I hated the most. Yeah, do
It's
what
it's
she
the thing,
did.
right? It's the thing that she would do that you hated the most.
Yes. Okay. And this was something that she didn't do to us directly, but I thought and thought, and thought, like, what did she do that was worse than criticizing? And I remember thinking, why does she have to be such a martyr? Why is she so hard on herself? Why can't she spend any money? Like, okay, well, she was in the depression. Okay, why can't she enjoy anything pleasurable? Why doesn't she want to buy herself a new sofa? And I do remember being angry about that. And so looking at what you just said about, I learned how to be abusive to myself based on watching her be abusive to herself. And then I need to start working on the other power people in my life, like my dad. But so with regards to worksheets, am I, what do you have any suggestions?
Well, one thing I would say is, now you got to understand that this is like just a little bit of a tweak, but for me and the way my mind works, this is more clear. And this comes from 21 years of listening to Michael and watching his videos, etc. I believe the first time I heard him present the power person dynamic, he said it. I'm kind of conflating some things here. He has a way of saying things, and I would hear them in the early days, and then they would morph over the years. And so one of those is when I talk about the power person dynamic after listening to Michael all these years, I say the three behaviors that are available to me are when I'm at a low stress level, and doesn't mean zero stress, but a low stress level, because there's never zero stress in a human being's life, right? The stress is the thing that motivates us to take any kind of behavior or do any kind of action. And when I'm at a low stress level in my life, I'm free to just be the happy go lucky person I was when things were going okay with my power person. So if I was an outgoing, joyful, talkative kid, I get to be an outgoing, joyful, talkative adult. If I was a quiet, pensive, introverted kid, I get to be a quiet, pensive, introverted, that kind of thing. And then when my stress level as an adult goes to a moderate level, it's like a switch gets flipped. There's no voluntary action here. And I flip into the behavior that I used to do to try and resist and survive when my power person did the thing I hated the most. not just all day, everyday things of living with my power person, but what I would do to resist and survive when my power person was doing the very thing that I hated the most. That very thing that when it was done around me or to me when I was a kid, I used to swear I would never do that. No one should ever do that. No one should ever be treated that way, etc. And then as an adult, if my stress level goes to a high level, again, it's like a switch gets flipped and there's no choice involved. And my behavior becomes that very thing my power person did that I hated the most. That very thing that I said, I would never do this. No one should ever have this done to them. There's never any good reason to act this way, etc. And my mind will show me every reason why this is the perfect thing to do right now as an adult. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So the only tweak there is that I look for the behavior that I did when my power person was doing the thing I hated the most. And that's in that moderate range. So now I can get I'm like tuning into when my behavior might be driven by a power person dynamic. Because not all my behaviors are driven by power person dynamics. And then once I'm tuned into this thing that this person did, so what is the thing that you would say that your mother did that you hated the most? Just breathe into it for a minute or two and let it come to you. What words would you use to describe the thing your power person did, mom in this case, that you hated the most?
Well, criticism is coming up pretty strongly.
Okay. So would you hate it the most when she would criticize anybody or just you?
I actually don't remember her criticizing anybody else.
Okay. So this is her criticizing you.
Yeah.
So what you're going to understand from this is that when your stress level goes to a high level, you're going to be full of more negative self-talk and self-criticism than at any other time in your life.
I am feeling some peace about that. Thank you.
Let's try and soften and breathe into it, because the essence of all of these things is I want to become like baleen in a whale. I want to become like, the vertical blinds over a patio door. I let everything that's not nourishing or relevant pass right through. And in this kind of work, we'd say, I let everything that's unlike love arise and move through me. I witness it. I'm there to feel it fully. I'm not trying to chase it away or deny that it's there. And yet I'm going to resist the urges to grab onto it or to shut it out or to run away from it and just be with it.
Yes, I can see that. Um, I've had three situations come up since about 2 o'clock this morning where I had the opportunity to be with a thought that came up, but I didn't. I immediately went to I am the chooser of my thoughts. I can think something different. So, and it was quite soothing to actually arrive at that. And then I caught myself in a moment of judgment about an hour ago at the grocery store. I'm like, oh, you're doing it. So the catching is good, but staying with the like, what is it I'm actually judging? What do I think or feel about this person? And then just be curious about the sentences. Like I wrote down 4 sentences. As soon as I got to the car, I wrote down 4 sentences that were in my brain. And I still need to go back and do some worksheets on those. But this is super helpful. I think I'm complete.
Okay. I can kind of hear the wheels turning in your head there. So just, I would just encourage you to just make as many notes you can right now about what's bubbling up in you, because I had the example several times this morning when I was doing my worksheets that I had an insight and then I went to save the worksheet and I had the thought I should make a note about this before I even put another form in the or answer another space in the worksheet. And I didn't. And then I hit enter on the worksheet and it disappeared instead of letting me save it. It's not a big deal, right? And then I picked out my notepad and went to make notes about that deep insight I had, and it was gone. It was just right out of my head. We're talking about in 10 seconds time.
Yeah.
So just do what you can to just tune into what you were thinking and feeling in this last 10 minutes that we've been conversing and make notes about it. There'll be some gems in there for you.
All
And you
right.
and you don't have to share them with anybody else, but they'll be there.
I'll do that. Thank you.
You're very welcome and deserving. Thank you for unmuting and speaking up. So we have plenty of time for questions or comments. I am kind of putting out the call for us to talk less and do more worksheets. So in in an attempt to be congruent with what I put a call out for and what I actually do in my life, I've shared a number of worksheets this morning. And if nobody else puts a hand up, I might just step through another worksheet today on the internet show and just let it be whatever it's going to be.
Tim,
Yes.
there's something that you said a while back about how you thought you or wondered if you were ever going to get past some core issue that keeps popping up. That's probably a feeling that most of us have. There are just some things that seem not to. You can get some insight in a wake-up sheet, and then you find there's another. The problem presents itself in another way, and you have to do another wake-up sheet. And that, I mean, Michael says 77 times 70 idea. That's one thing I was noticing when you were talking. The other one is you mentioned that you sometimes went to fawning in order to get uh, somebody to approve of you or whatever it was. And I've been thinking about, you often say don't put anybody on a pedestal, and yet it sounds as if you, like everybody else, occasionally puts people above you in one way or another. And I think that was a cultural thing in the 70s. Remember all the gurus that showed up that were enlightened, and we had to crawl up the mountain and grab their feet and say, give it to me, and you've got it and I don't. And now here's Alan Watts saying things like,
He was saying it
you,
back then too.
no, but he's now saying, you may have a moment of awakening, but you're not probably going to hold on to that. You have to bring out your shadow stuff and work on it. I don't know about earlier whether he was one of those gurus, but it doesn't feel as if he is so much that way now.
Well, are you aware that he's no longer in the body?
I am. Yeah,
Yeah.
I shouldn't say just that the talks we're getting is later. Maybe they weren't later.
Yeah,
Maybe they're
that's
all.
that's what I'm trying to point out to you is that he's been tapped into deep truths for
Hmm.
a lot of years.
Yeah.
And that it was known, you know, 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, 7,000 years ago. It's been known. It's what Guy Finley keeps saying. the deep truths have been on this planet. They've been in humanity's, conscious collective since time immemorial. There's nothing, my dad used to say, there's nothing new under the sun. It's one of those old adages that.
Well, that's good. And it's Tim and I got involved with the Ramakrishna Vivekananda monks in New York City. We had bad experiences in church, and we became non-church people. And then a friend of ours introduced us to Swami Nikhilananda in New York City, and he was a scholar, and he had written many books. And by the time we met him, he was very, very old and fragile and was not teaching. But he had invited monks from India, from his order of monks in India, to come one by one to be his assistant. And I found out later that there were 6 assistants who just couldn't stay there for very long. I don't know whether it was a bad dynamic between the assistant and Swami Nikhilananda, but the Swami we met was the 7th one. And he also taught in such a way that it appeared that he felt he was an expert, he was enlightened, and we were at the bottom of a mountain and he was at the top. And Tim and I both became incredibly eager to get him to approve of us. We did all the stuff you mentioned, fawning, and we studied hard and we meditated, but we were meditating to get his approval. I mean, it was complicated.
and completely worthless.
Well, in
right?
some way,
right. It's what Michael likes to quote, the little poem that explains what he calls to do the right thing for the wrong reason.
That popped right into my mind. Yes, I think you can get good stuff anyway. But the irony was, many years later, I was at a family reunion near New York City and decided to leave the reunion and go visit this Swami, who was now very old. And I went to see him, and Tim and I had long since stopped going to that center. We found our way back to the Episcopal Church and got very involved there. But I wanted to visit him. And I went in there feeling like the young person that I'd been before, but he had changed a great deal. Being older, I think he had had some disappointments. He was amazing. And at one point, we're sitting opposite each other, and he said, "I never knew why you and Tim left." And he felt hurt. And he expressed that. He said, "I thought you didn't like me." And I said, "Oh, Swami, that's so amazing," because we felt like failures and dunderheads. And we just, they have this very powerful teaching about how monks who are celibate are at the top of the heap and householders are pretty pathetic. It's a caste system within their culture. It is.
I know it is.
Yeah.
I know.
And so.
And some people still want to defend it. I know.
Yeah. Well, and so we just had this incredible laugh, because I said, "I thought you and Tim were really disappointed with us, and we kind of thought we were just not ever going to be able to toe the line." And the obstacology, what we felt you were teaching us is a course in obstacology. You cannot become enlightened, no matter how hard you try. You have to jump through too many hoops. And we just fell short. So we got discouraged. And the kids were growing up and they didn't want to go with us. And there was all kinds of reasons. But I said, "So I thought you were disappointed in us." And he said, I thought you didn't like me." And that was just such a sweet moment and a leveling moment. But even though I had that experience,
a moment that offers you the leveling perspective.
Yes.
You don't necessarily have to acknowledge it or keep it around, but it's being offered in a moment like that.
Well, and it's being offered, and I accepted it, but I didn't keep it around.
Right.
You know, and what you're talking about, having that memory in high school, is just similar. But the temptation, you say, don't put people on a pedestal. Well, culturally, it's both in that religious tradition and in the Christian tradition, the way our churches are set up. We have priests who wear these amazing garments, and if you're a bishop, you wear this amazing cope and a huge mitre on top, and you carry this staff.
All to say what?
All to say we're above you.
Yes. Yes.
And
look at me, look at my accomplishments.
yeah. Or even
and
getting
that's just a cultural thing.
I know. But even Tim, look at you. You call yourself Dr. Tim, and you've explained why that happened and how it's almost like a nickname. Like, well, anyway, I won't go into that. But look what Michael does. He puts.
All right. Let me just get you back on track here.
All right, I'm on track. I'm on track.
Well, I mean, what I'm attempting to do when I present worksheets, and if you hadn't spoken up, I'd be doing another worksheet right now about a one-word text I got from my ex-wife. I'm just pausing so everybody can have their brain cells go, oh, he should be calling her former, because I listen to Michael Rice.
Yeah.
And
right.
the use of the word X is violent and cutting out. And if you want to play that game, go ahead. But I got a one-word text from my ex-wife last night. After, like I maybe get a text from her 4 or 5 times a year.
Well,
right. Prior to that, there was a text in October and one in August. Prior to that, there was one last year, Halloween. So that's the frequency, right? And so
my God.
And so here comes a text.
Of one word.
A one-word text. And it's the it just left me with this huge question mark. So it came in at like 8:15 last night. And I sat with it and I thought, that is just truly bizarre. Right? And there are all these things in my head about what she should be talking to me about and how she's never explained, the divorce and all this years of garbage that have gone on. And so I didn't respond because I don't want that stuff fueling my response.
Mm-hmm.
So I did a worksheet or two, a little EFT tapping as I went to sleep, and I woke up in the morning and I thought about it. And what I ended up sending was simply a question mark.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you, Susan Bingham, or if Michael Rice, or if anybody else in the support groups had sent me a text like that, and it had stirred up this, intense emotional response in me, I would have communicated about it. I would have said, wow, it's like what happened. I had a relationship that broke up after 5 years, and then 8.5 years later, this woman out of nowhere sent me an email and said, hey, let's go have lunch. And my reply was, wow, I'm full of intense emotions in response to getting this note. It's been a long time. I need to take time before I respond. I didn't want to leave you hanging, but I'll get back to you.
Very kind.
Well, but that's the kind of thing I would have said here, except that I have the deep understanding that this person is not willing, and you might say even capable of going there.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
Right? With years of my trying to be available for the very difficult conversations, etc., and experiencing that she's either unwilling or unable to engage in that, I'm not going to pounce on this and say, oh, you know what? This word gives me the perfect opening to dump. To say,
Yeah.
how dare you send me this when you've never talked to me about blah, blah, blah. All of that would be coming from my upset.
Yeah.
And I don't want to put my upset either on other people or into my communications with other people.
Mm-hmm.
So the point I'm trying to make here is clay feet. I want everybody to see my clay feet. Right? I don't want people putting me on a pedestal. I don't want people thinking I'm better at doing worksheets than they are, and that's why I get the results I get. The only reason I get any results out of worksheets is because I go into them and just let it be what it is. And if I try to make the outcome of a worksheet bend to my will, I lose the opportunity to see what the actual process can offer me.
Mm.
I know I've talked about how when I learned the neuro-emotional technique, I was so excited. It was such a powerful, it's like a concentrated version of the reality management worksheet. And it's like laser focused rather than like a shotgun blast. And I thought, this is great. And then time after time, as I went to have people do that to me and do it on me and help me uncover my stuff, I would go into those sessions thinking, this one's going to go to my Grandma Hayes. This is going to be about how she hated me. This is going to be about that time when she did this or that. And it never went there.
Mm.
And when I say never, I mean 4 or 5 years of having NET done on me, multiple times, sometimes multiple times a week, sometimes once a week, sometimes, and if it was one of those monthly meetings, I'd have, 4 or 5 releases done on me.
Wow.
And for years, I would think I would know where it's going to go, and it wouldn't go anywhere near it.
Mm.
So the benefit of just keeping the focus inside, of catching every thought about blame or guilt or accusation and just highlighting it as false and chuckling at it, getting that playful attitude towards it. That's what I'm encouraging us to do because that's what's gotten me the best results. And because anything else I've ever tried always leaves me dependent upon what somebody else is going to choose to do. And I don't want my peace to be dependent upon somebody else doing what I think they should do.
Mm. Tim, you want to finish that worksheet? You want to do it? Do you have time?
Okay, well, we'll just do the short version, right? So here's this. Got to clear my throat just a minute. So here's a one-word text from somebody that I used to be married to, and it's the mother of my 2 sons. After months, and one worksheet I could do on that would be anger, irritation. So if I have the emotion of irritation, the thought I would use in this case would be, how dare she, what would be the word? Reach out for intimacy. This is an intimate message. It's the nickname that we gave my oldest before he was born, right? As he was a fetus, as he was growing in my wife's uterus, this was the nickname. Just that. Now, his birthday was yesterday. So I can see, right, I can make all of these excuses for saying, oh, it's, nothing, it's harmless, etc. And I can see the logic of that. But I also have all my history and all the goals that have never been met with that relationship. And so my thought generating the irritation is she has no right to, intrude or assert intimacy at that level. And my goal in a worksheet like that would be, I want her to acknowledge, ooh, here's a good one. I want her to acknowledge what went on and own her part of it and do her work around it. Right? So there's a rupture in the relationship and she's never acknowledged the rupture, and or if she's acknowledged the rupture, she's not willing to work on the repair. And so if I cancel my thought, cancel my goal, and I ask to be shown the hidden part of my mind, the first thing that happens is I see how that's a theme, that I have a number of people I've had to deal with over the years who are either unwilling or incapable of discussing the difficult topics, meeting and just being wide open and honest about what's going on for them so that some resolution or repair in a relationship could happen. So I'm just going to breathe and soften and cancel my need to be right and cancel my need for anyone or anything to change, including myself. Specifically canceling my goal in this worksheet and ask to be shown the hidden part of my own mind that's actually creating this upset. And as I breathe and soften into that, along with thoughts about, oh, we're running out of time on the internet show, I just keep coming back to the thought, oh, there are 4 or 5 people in my life that span, 60 years or where that's been a theme. So I'm just going to breathe and soften and say, all right, so there it is. There's my next set of worksheets is on the theme and what I might end up remembering specific individuals and doing worksheets on them, or the times that we parted, or the times I have tried to reach out to repair the relationship. And I'm feeling solid. I feel grounded about that. Oh, that's a good set of worksheets to do, right? And I've got the names of 3 or 4 of them are right there. So I'm just going to breathe and soften and think the most loving thoughts and memories I can, which usually includes my 2 sons and their magnificent presence in my life, until I feel that shift in my heart space, and then I acknowledge that I'm ready to move on. So that would be that worksheet. Thoughts, comments, Susan?
Thank you so much, Dr. Tim. It was wonderful to have you share that with us.
Well, I will also make the commitment to share the other worksheets that come from that as I do them, and whatever results we get. So thank you all for being here. I have to end this and run off to an interview with Roman Wyden about ADHD. And I'll remind us all that it's a Thursday, so there will be a support group tonight. And we come from love. We're made of the stuff we call love. We actually are love, and everything else is false. Thanks for being here. Blessings.